Hi and welcome back to the Hobby Organist channel. Trevor back again after a weekend break. I hope you enjoyed Tom's video yesterday explaining all about the Fake It feature. And I hope you had a good weekend with nice sunny weather, though it was quite windy where we were. And I hope you had lots of fun listening to all the different styles on your Lowrey organs, and keep sending in your favourites and ones that you want us to look at, and we will get round to them. We're starting to get quite a big list of things that we need to cover. So, but first things first, we need to have some honourable mentions to Trevor, Roger, David, Robert, Derek and Andy, who correctly identified the piece of music. Was the theme tune to Just Good Friends. Surprised actually how many people remember that show. But I have quite fond memories of it. So got a great little melody there. Very easy one to play. It's in the key of C. So anyway, so well done everybody who recognised that, and thanks for letting me know. A quick update on our channel. We're up to as of this morning 316 subscribers, which is incredible, and over 34,000 views on the channel so far. And that equates, this is quite a fascinating statistic, to 4,100 hours worth of viewing. So me and Tom have been watched over 4,000 for over 4,000 hours on this channel. So to put that into context, that's 17,000 days or 4.5 years. So far collectively, you've actually watched us for 4.5 years, which is quite amazing. It's amazing what happens on YouTube, and every video we put on there gets such good response. So we're really enjoying doing these, and we hope you're getting lots back from them as well. So today we're going to continue our looking at the stars. That seems to be a very popular thing that we started last week, and lots of questions come back about the styles. And I just did that little piece there to demonstrate me using the alto style and the drum variation there. So we used the same style all the way through that piece of music. In fact, we're using Under Country, one of our traditional styles, a style that's been around for a long time. It's on most of the Lowrey organs, called bluegrass. And we used 4 different variations of that style while we were playing the song. So when we started playing, we've got this wonderful violin going. But we started the style, funnily enough, using the drum variation switched on. So we have the particular drums. We can hear the drums there. Just turn them down a bit. And we use that for playing the verse. When we got to the chorus, we turned the drum variation off, and you hear how the drums changed. And then that chuck, 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 and then when we got to the bridge, we pressed the alto style button. And you hear that completely change the style. It kind of stops it dead, and it comes a dun 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 dun. And then when we want to do the final chorus, we press the drum variation again. But of course we're on the alto style, so the drum variation will give us the different drums again. Away. So that's really an example of the thing that we're talking about on Friday when we did the video on styles, is that every one of the styles in Lowrey organs has these 4 different variations. If you've got the alto style and the drum variation, you've got the combinations that you can use one or the other, or both together, or neither of them, and that gives you 4 different variations for every one of the styles. And so when you were looking through the styles and playing through them over the weekend, it's really interesting to listen to see what happens. Sometimes if you've got an organ that has a drums only button, it's quite fun to press the drums only button. So you only hear the drums. So I'll put on here our Vegas Showband style, one we've used several times. And then you can hear what happens when you press drum variation. Take it off. And then you hear what happens when you press alter style. Changes a lot. Press drum variation. So you can hear all those 4 different drum patterns that have been made for that one style. And of course at the same time, if we turn back in the accompaniment will change when you press the alter style button. So it's a really powerful system, and I use it a lot because you can get a very different feel from a style sometimes when you press the alter style. A lot of the time when Bill has written a style that is perfect for playing a particular song, the alter style will be perfect for playing a different song. One of the things that does come up a lot is people ask us about what song suggestions. So we're going to be working on a list of doing song suggestions for people to follow. I'm trying to think of one that has kind of a different feel to it. So, it's a very good example here. We've got the 5/4 style here, and if you play the 5/4 style normally, of course it's that jazz kind of 5/4 style that you play for take 5. But if you press the alter style, it's a completely different style completely. It's one for playing Mission Impossible. So it is very interesting to listen to the styles and press the variation button on the alter style and the drum variation, and to hear what happens to the style, because you may find something that you haven't heard before, or something completely different. So those 2 buttons are very, very important for allowing you to adjust the styles. Now the other thing that we can do, and this is the thing that's living next door to the alter style button. I'm here on an E series, and we have these 2 buttons called Basic and Orchestral Plus. Now if you're on an A series, it's still going to be called Orchestral Plus, but that one there, the basic one, will be called Genie. And so the Genie part will be the base of the accompaniment. So on the E series they actually called it the basic button. I'm just having a quick check actually on an A series to make sure I've got that name right. Yeah, Genie. It is called a Genie button. Sorry about that. And so when you have a style, let's go back to a nice simple style. Let's go to Smooth, and we'll go to Serenade. That's a real standard style. This is going to be our Glenn Miller. Now obviously what makes that style so good, and why it's called Serenade, is of course it's doing all the na-na-na-na-nas that you would have for playing Moonlight Serenade. But of course if you wanted to play anything else with that style, you'd be a bit scuppered in terms of the fact you've always got the na-na-na-na-nas going on. And so each style, as I say, is divided up into 2 parts, or the accompaniment is divided into 2 parts. A basic bass, which I say on A series will be called Genie, and all the twiddly bits, the orchestral stuff, which they literally call Orchestral Plus, which makes sense. And so when you play a style, you have those 2 parts to start off with. But if you turn off the Orchestral Plus, you're left with just the basic part. It's just somebody strumming away with a guitar. Listen to the difference if I bring that Orchestral Plus back in. Take it out. And that in itself is a really, really useful thing, because you can take a style and use it for something completely different. If the twiddly bits, the orchestral plus parts, don't fit in with the song you're trying to play, you've still got a very nice style. In fact, a lot of the time I like using things on the basic because, or just having the basic, because that little strumming bit there is kind of very much a style of music. You don't have to have everything all going. It's a very, very nice style, and you don't have to have all the bits and pieces going. If you put the orchestral plus back in with that, of course it's not really going to work. That's a great example of something I was going to talk about, and it's kind of happened completely by mistake. So this is something I was going to bring up later on, but by virtue of me pressing a preset button, it's come up by mistake. But I've been talking about pressing those buttons just manually, and when Lowrey created the song setups, or the rhythm presets, if you're on A series, they actually use that feature where they take parts in and out and do it for you. So when I pressed button number 8 there to get the piano, it actually automatically took out the na-na-na-na-nas. So if we go back to the first registration, so after that has already taken them out, me turning that button off and on actually makes no difference. So that's a point that I was going to come to, but we'll come to it prematurely, is that when you play through the setups, even if you don't do this, if you don't use drum variation, auto style, or just pressing those buttons, the organ is doing that for you as well, to give you some variation in the style alongside the sound it's giving you, which is very, very impressive. So the more you learn about these presets, the more impressive they become. Is that not only are they setting up the sound for you, but they are adjusting the rhythm while you're playing to give you some variation in rhythm without you having to go up and do it. We've obviously been talking about pressing these buttons ourselves when we're making our own presets, but if you're not doing your own presets, you're not missing out on that feature, because the setups are actually doing that for you. So for example, let's go through on this one. I'm using the vintage one, so this is going to apply on all the E series and the A series that have this style. So the 0 one, the first one, has everything in it. It has the na-na-na-na-nas, because it's setting up the clarinets. But if we go through the rest of the setups, you hear that one? The first one has actually taken out everything and just left me with that basic rhythm that we were talking about. Go to number 2. He's introduced a drum variation. The orchestral plus, but it hasn't brought back the na-na-na-na-nas. It's brought out some of the extra accompaniment, but that particular signature part, the na-na-na-na-na, it hasn't brought back. Carry on, number 4. Let's learn anything. Number 5. In number 9, let's brought them back. Number 10, they're still there. So, another interesting bit of homework is to have a look through style setups and see what they're doing with the style, because this idea of altering the style to give you variation while you're playing or to make it suitable for playing different songs is something Lowrey have already done for you in all of the presets that they've set up to go with these styles. Now also the thing to remember with that is that if you are using the rhythm presets, they are going to override what you did. So if I start, as I demonstrated, you see, I wanted to bring back the na-na-na-nas in button number 8, and I couldn't get them back because that had already overridden them. So there is a bit of a choice here that if you want the Lowrey to be setting these things up for you, then let it do it. If you want to do it yourself, then maybe you might be better off using your own presets, or we have to use the lock feature. And Tom has done a video on the lock feature, and there's an option there called accompaniment lock. And if we have accompaniment lock on, it means that when you go through all of these presets, and this applies even to the factory ones from Lowrey, all the style setups and your rhythm presets, it then won't change the accompaniment that you've adjusted. So for example, let's for example turn the lock off, and we'll have this one doing full beans. Yeah. So it's doing all the na-na-na-na-nas. We put the accompaniment lock on, and you remember when as soon as we pressed number 1, it got rid of those and it put us straight back to a basic jazz guitar. Not happening anymore. So that lock feature is actually a way of locking in the style so you don't have it changing, and you can either do that because you literally don't want it to change, or you can use it because you've done these adjustments and you don't want the organ overriding them. So lots to think about with that, and it's amazing actually just looking at these few little buttons how many variations and subtleties and things that are going on from just those, and that can make such a difference to your playing because you can get all this variation and change. And the big thing about anything when you're trying to make a performance interesting is change, is development, and we're always exploring the idea of using these setups and changing sounds while we're playing, building up so while we're playing, but the rhythm and the accompaniment is just as important as that. That's practically half, probably more than half of what's going on in your piece, if it's doing the pedals for you and everything. And so varying the accompaniment can make a big difference. So if you listen to any bands, favourite one being the big bands, if you're listening to big bands, yes, they change the sounds, you've got the saxophones, trumpets playing, but listen to what the drummer does. The drummer doesn't just sit there for the whole piece going dun, 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 dun. He does different patterns and builds up to go with what's changing in the piece of music. So by using these buttons we can express the piece of music and develop it by using these variations while we're playing. And so there is another side to this as well, which have we got time to cover? Yeah, let's put it in there. The button there that I pressed there earlier took out the na-na-na-nas, but it didn't actually turn off the orchestral plus. Now at the beginning, if we were paying attention to all that stuff at the beginning, I said to get rid of the na-na-na-nas we had to press orchestral plus, and they got rid of them. Well, the reason why this button was able to get rid of them without using that feature is because it was actually taking them away from the actual part of the style. So this is a little bit more intense because what we're doing is actually going into looking inside how the styles are put together. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to move the camera, there we go, so you have a better look at the screen. I'm going to zoom in. Oops. Steven Spielberg getting high up, there we go. There we go, so we should be able to see, if I can get it right around, there we go, what's going on the screen there. That's better. So On most of the A series organs, once you've chosen the style, and we get back to our main screen, you will see an option at the top here that says touch here to edit style. And that's really important, because that allows us to actually go in and see all the different parts that were going on. So let's go back to our serenade. That's always a good example. So we've got serenade. And what we're going to do, I'm just going to turn off the lower manual so we're not getting any sound down there, and also going to turn off the bass just for the time being. And we're also going to ditch the drums. Let's ditch the drums. There we go. So all we're hearing is the accompaniment. So you can hear those different parts going on. And as we said, there was a basic part, which is the strumming. And the orchestral plus that had all the trilly bits. Well, the basic one is always just one part. But the orchestral plus one is actually several parts. In fact, there are 4 different parts there for the orchestral part. And I got this screen up here, which you can see, by touching at the top of the screen where it says touch here to edit style. So I press that. And it then shows us all the parts. So we have the first part, which is the basic part. And it tells us the sound it's using. It's using a guitar sound. And it tells us the volume. Orchestral Plus is actually made up of 4 different parts. And this is the really clever bit. That button there turns them all off. But via this screen, I can turn them off individually. So for example, there's a little vibe part in there which plays a little bit of vibes. You hear that? Can you hear that? There's a strings part. There's the clarinets. Not doing a lot at the moment. And this is a good lesson, is the fact that some of these parts, for example the clarinet there, is not being used at the moment. It may be used when we press Alter Style, it may come in when you press the fill-in button, it may come in when you press the ending button. But at the moment, it's not doing anything. So don't think there's something gone wrong if you choose a part and it says clarinet and there's nothing happening. Because that clarinet is probably is waiting in reserve for when we press the ending button. Let's press the ending button and see if it comes in. Yeah. There we go. So let's get the style going again. And then the final part there, number 4. So you've got an amazing amount of control. Via the 2 buttons we've got this kind of either or situation, but via this screen we can take in and out parts and mix and match them, so we could just have the vibes and strings. That's quite a nice style, isn't it? Bring the drums back in with the bass in with that. Bit of drums. Wasn't that a very different style? Quite nice there with the vibes. We don't have that constant throb of the guitar in there from the basic. That's really nice, I like that style. And that's the beauty of this, is you can discover and make things up that you never would have heard before, or never would have thought that was in there. And we've had lots of people query why Lowrey don't allow us to load new styles in the organ. But we don't really miss that feature, because we can adjust and have so much control over the existing styles that we can make up our own ones anyway, from using what's already in here provided by Bill. So I've taken that na-na-na-na-na style and turned it into a lovely gentle jazz with vibes. Now the other really nice thing that we can do is, on the other end of this screen we've got a list of numbers, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, is that we can change the volume of each one of the parts. So for example, if we brought back the strumming guitar, that kind of is now dominating everything. So I can touch that 100 and use the scroll keys and take it down. So it's just there in the background. That's nice. And a lot of people ask, about when we do all these packs, the Just For You packs and the registration packs for famous names. This is kind of a lot of the stuff that we do in the background to adjust the styles, to get them to do and sound how we want them to sound, rather than just all sounding the same. That when you press the button and you get Serenade, it's going to sound the same all the time. Well, doing all this adjustment means you can customize it. So what we did there was change the balance. So we can change the balance on every single one of them. So we could completely change the dominant instruments in that style. But then, and this is the really clever stuff, is in the middle, you can even change the sounds that the style is using. So we've got the vibes there playing. So let's just turn off the other one so we just hear the vibes. If we touch the word vibes, I can then scroll and change it. Violins, choirs. And you can have all kinds of fun. Completely changing the feel of that style by using different sounds. Trombones, just strings, sitar there. I'm holding the button there to scroll through because I want to get into the piano. I just want to have a nice piano. Isn't that great? So I've now changed that vibe to a nice piano. I can bring my strings back. Fascinating. So we've covered an awful lot there, and I think probably we might go back and revisit that and do some ideas with that in a later video. But that's a lot for you to experiment around, and a lot for you to find. Let me just fade out. Oops, we're going the wrong way. Come back out again. There we go. That is a phenomenal amount of control that you have there, and an amazing amount of variation that you can then get just from the style section. So I think that's probably enough. I don't want to overload you with too much information. I didn't mean to cover quite so much in this video. So have an experiment with that. Later on in the week we'll have another session where we talk about styles, because we said Friday date was going to be our playing with styles day, and we can look at a little bit more at that revoicing idea and what you can do with it. But in the meantime, just experiment with it. So you're not going to do anything wrong. If you, as soon as you turn the style off, everything that you've done is lost anyway. And when you go back to the style, it's back to its normal self. So you haven't lost anything. If you do want to keep what you've done, then the key thing is always save it in a preset. So make sure you save that in the preset. And when you do save it in the preset, make sure that you choose the option that with style, and then all of those alterations that you made will be recorded as part of a preset. And that's something actually in another video somebody's asked us to go through that in a bit more detail and save and loading to the USB. So we'll try and cover that one this week and do more of an operational video. So have a play with that. I think that's just an incredible area of the Lowrys, and just in our little session there we've taken that na-na-na-na style, which you would have thought is a nice style, but there's not much you can do with it because it's always going to go na-na-na-na. It's great for playing Moonlight Serenade, but not much else. those small adjustments we made to it turned into a lovely, beautiful little jazz style that we could use there for playing all kinds of standards. So yeah, brilliant. So keep up the good work, keep watching. Apparently somebody told me that we need to ask you to click on the like and the subscribe button at the end of videos. So we need to get as many likes and as many subscriptions as we can via YouTube so we can keep the channel going. So at the end of the video, if you give an option to like it and an option to subscribe, please click on them, and that helps us keep the channel going. And say well done to everybody who recognised the song. If you want a real challenge, see if you can work out what the song was that I played right at the beginning with the bluegrass. You remember the... See if you remember work out what that song is. I'd be very, very impressed if anybody does spot that one. So thanks for watching. Enjoy that. Keep the comments coming. Stay safe, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.